6.0 Powerstroke Top 5 Common Problems. Number 5, High Pressure Oil Pump Failure. 6.0 Powerstrokes utilized an injection system that used high-pressure oil to fire the injectors. Along with the standard low-pressure oil pump, these engines came with a high-pressure oil pump that fed the injection system. Early Model 03 and 04 engines with the aluminum pump were prone to failure. The later model high-pressure pumps were much more reliable, however, the T-fittings were prone to leaking. Replacing the fittings is a timely repair as the pump is located at the back of the engine. Number 4, Standpipe and Dummy Plug O-rings. Also part of the high-pressure oil system, the standpipes and dummy plugs ran oil from the bottom of the engine to the top into an oil rail that ultimately fed the injectors. These pipes had O-rings on them that were prone to failure. If the O-rings began to deteriorate, long crank starting would follow. This would eventually lead to the O-ring completely blowing out and the engine dying completely, unable to be restarted. Number 3, Head gasket failure. Some might argue this should be number 1, however, head gasket issues weren't as common on the later Model 05 through 07 engines. The 6.0 Powerstroke cylinder heads utilized less head bolts than its predecessor and as a result was prone to failure. EGR and oil cooler failures prompted head gasket failure as well. Tuning these engines is not a good idea for this reason, unless you are going to upgrade the head bolts to studs first. Number 2, Oil cooler clogging. We put this at number 2 as it is one of the most common issues on these engines. Over time, coolant in the 6.0 Powerstroke will break down and begin to restrict flow inside the oil cooler. Once restricted, the engine runs hotter than normal. This can lead to many other issues, such as blown head gaskets. Also, the EGR cooler will almost always fail as a result of a clogged oil cooler as it is the first place coolant travels after the oil cooler. The fix to this problem is to change your coolant regularly. Coolant filtration kits also help with this common problem. Number 1, EGR Cooler Failure. We put this at number 1 as it is one of the most common problems and can be the most catastrophic as well. Prompted by the clogging of the oil cooler, EGR cooler failure leads to coolant dumping into the exhaust system and in extreme cases, can lead to coolant entering the intake and ultimately hydro-locking the engine. The fix to this is to remove the EGR cooler or utilize an upgraded cooler like the ones made by Bulletproof Diesel.